Forgiving people who have hurt you is your gift to them. Forgetting people who have hurt you is your gift to yourself. Remember, you are free to make any decision you want about your life, but you're not free to decide on the consequences. Think about it for a minute. For example, let's talk about co-signing. To me, that's a consequence. Even in the Bible, you go to Proverbs 22-26. It talks about the word assurity. Assurity means guarantee. So, if I stepped up and co-signed, and I was surprised, 7 years ago I realized that was even in the Bible. They talked about that back then. And look how many people got caught up in co-signing for people. You co-sign for somebody based upon if they don't follow through, if they don't pay, and Jeff Koppelman doesn't care about that. All he knows is I co-sign. He says, Don, they didn't pay me. I'm coming to you now. You got to pay up. Well, I signed up stating I would do that. So why am I cussing out the person I co-signed for? Why am I talking about their mother? Why am I trying to take them to court? When I decided to make that decision, I said I would step up and I will cover the debt or the obligation that was made. So think about that. And another thing, to me, co-signing is when you put somebody else on your cell phone account. That's co-signing. How many times that you said, well, I did it because he didn't have good credit. I did it because, well, if he don't have good credit, that's a problem right there. He didn't do well with what he had to work with. But co-signing will affect you from getting into business. It will affect you from getting into the marketplace because that is a mark against you that you don't know how to handle your personal credit. So why am I going to give you any other credit from financial institutions? Keep that in mind. Let's talk about business real quick and job professions. 80% of the people in this country are in jobs and professions that they dislike. 80% of the people in this country in job professions that they dislike. What is the result you're going to get as an employer? High tardiness, high absenteeism. Because the people don't want to be there. And it leads me into my Chrysler story, which I'll talk about in my book. I went to a Chrysler McGraw plant in Detroit where they produce glass. They have 1,200 employees. And when I walked through the plant, and I never worked in the automotive industry in my life, I walked through the plant, I saw people doing what? Clock watching. They got there at 7, the break is at 10. 12 o'clock is lunch, 3 o'clock I'm out of here. They never took time to figure out, how can I get this place to like me, let me learn more about it, so I can make money without being here. Nobody thought about that. You know why? They're in a place that they don't want to be in the first place. Ain't nobody thinking like that. But here I go, I walked in, found an opportunity to produce interleaver paper for glass, because the glass needed packaging so it would be safe to arrive at the assembly plant without getting broken. I convinced Chrysler to let me do that. That was my first $1 million contract. And from that $1 million contract, for the years that I was in the automotive business, I grew $1 million to a $10 million business and had the 3 plants and had 70 people working for me. When I go back and count up the 15 years that I was in business, $100 million went through this hand. And how do I say that? Because I went to the post office every day looking for that check from Chrysler. That was my motivation. Anybody knew me knew you can find me at the post office because I sent some invoices in and I'm at the post office looking for that check. Now, I'm a little bit old school. They wanted to do direct deposit to my account. No. Mail the check. I don't want to do that. But it was motivation for me that even though I had a lot of employees, a lot of administrative staff, I went to the post office. So that was my motivation. But anyway, over those 15 years, my business made $100 million. So let's talk about being successful. You can be successful if you can provide a need. Success. You can be successful if you provide a service. That's success. But if you can provide both the need and the service together, then you got something extraordinary. And who does that? The automobiles companies do that. They make you think you need a car. Breaks down, you take it for them to get a service. Think about that. Same thing with cell phones. They think you need a cell phone, breaks down, you got to go there to get a service. AAA doesn't sell cars, but they do sell service. They come and tow you, they provide you insurance. So find one of those needs or service businesses to get into, and again, if you can get both of them together, you're really on to something. Now, I like to divide up two things. What can make an individual successful versus a business? To be successful as an individual, for something that you want, you got to do things that you've never done to achieve it. That could be working more hours, that could be pulling back on your expenses, but you're doing things differently because you want to get something that you want. But in business, we measure it differently. In business, there's three things you need to do to be successful. You need to do something that no one wants to do. Number one. Number two, you need to do something that no one has never done. Or three, you can do something that no one hasn't done in a long time. So when you see stuff comes out new and approved, or this business went out of business, let's take, for example, Hostess Twinkies. Hostess Twinkies went away for a while. But guess what? They back. People making money. So there is things that you can do. And those are the three things that I would say would measure you. Marcus wants me to talk about the W-2 wage earner, business person, entrepreneur, and I think he's been to too many of my speeches. He knows it by heart now. A W-2 wage earner, we all have been that. It's where you get your W-2 in a year and you file your taxes and you hope for a return back from what I was saying. As a W-2 wage earner, you do three things. Then you have the business person entrepreneur, where a business person, to me, starts a business, puts his family in the business, they work hard, blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen. Then you got the entrepreneur who has several businesses, where he doesn't have a feeling or an attachment to the business, but he will flip them based upon the market industry. He may keep it based upon how he sees the growth in that business down the road. But those two entities, the business person and entrepreneur, has incorporated their business, or they are an LLC. Now, again, W-2 wage earner, business person, entrepreneur, they have three things. We're just going to rearrange the furniture. As a W-2 wage earner, I can make all the money I can, pay taxes, spend what's left. Business person, entrepreneur, I can make all the money I can, spend all the money I can, then I pay taxes on what's left. That is the carrot that's hanging at the end if you become an entrepreneur and have a successful business. So if I have $100 in my pocket, and I'm the business person, entrepreneur, and Sharon has $100 in her pocket, we have a car. The car needs what? Maintenance, gas, insurance. Sharon's spending that money out of her pocket. My business is paying for all that. So at the end of the week, I still got about 100. Sharon probably might have $10, $15 left. That is how corporations can beat the W-2 wage earner every day. You can't do it. People kick around the word millionaire. What does it really take to be a millionaire? Well, I thought about if I could make $100,000 a year for 10 years, no expenses, no bills, no taxes, or just be able to clear $100,000 a year, in 10 years I have $1 million. Well, that's interesting because folks are not trying to do that. And I bring this magazine around, I carry it where I go. It's called Forbes 400. On this cover I kept, this older one, it has Jay-Z and Warren Buffett on there. Now, they only talk about the 400 billionaires every year in this magazine. Which tells me one thing. They ain't talking about millionaires no more. That's a given. You're supposed to be well on your way to becoming a millionaire. So, think about that. And every year they're finding out, for example, this year, the 400 people made it. You got 120 folks who didn't make it. You know why? because Forbes raised the bar. Instead of having $1 billion, you got to have $1.3 billion. So you got 120 folks that's very upset that they didn't make the list. So that just goes to tell you on how you should focus and what does $1 billion really means to you and how you're going to make $1 billion. When you purchase a vehicle, you need to think about it. When you buy a car, whenever this car breaks down, can I pay for the repair? Whatever car I'm buying, will it lend me to know that whatever happens, this is called planning, folks. Can I afford it? If my car breaks down and I need a set of tires, I can buy a set of tires today. If it's in the shop for anything else, and if the shop needs to keep it, that's on the shop. But whatever my car needs, I can pay for it today. And that's how you need to be thinking about when you purchase things. Because when I look at cars, I look at a 190-10 program. When you buy a car, you got 100% on maintenance, gasoline, upkeep, all that other stuff, insurance. And you buy it with the mind, if you buy a big SUV, in the mind you say, well, I'm going to use this for taking my kids to college, helping them move in. I'm going to be giving events. I'm going to need to go to Sam's Club, Costco, fill it up. I need to have all this space to do these things. In essence, you've only utilized that 10%. 100% cost and expenses, 10% utilization. Here's where the 90 comes in. You're riding in that vehicle 90% time by yourself. So you need to think about what you're purchasing and what you're doing. So, bring this full circle. Success is only an ideal way. I say let's keep traveling. It's great to have a peace of mind, but to have financial peace of mind is even better. And if you're working for somebody and you know you need money to start your business, and you need the capital that the banks or the SBA or even Lorenzo or Detroit Macro Loan Fund may not give you, but he's pretty flexible. He will give it to you. He's flexible. I'm on the board there, so I make sure he's flexible. So, but if you need an investment, let's say you go to your boss or your supervisor that you work with. The owner of the company is more important. What you should do is, number one, establish their trust while you work there. You may have no interest in what business that this person owns that you're working in, but you got your own ideas. But establish the trust with the owner, number one. Number two, come to work early and stay late. Number three, make them feel that when you come to work, that you're so good that they don't need to be there. That's how you win them over. And that's how you can build the trust to get some of his networking help, some of his connection help, or even him to help guide you on how you can pursue your own venture in being in business. And last but not least, successful people do things daily, what unsuccessful people do on an occasion. An occasion is a hobby. Thank you. You've been a good audience.
System analogy. I really like that one. Let's give our keynote presenter another round of applause.